Long time no see. Hi, my name is Kara and it's been about 6 weeks of knitting, and it's not as much as you would think because I've been a bit busy with like my full-time job and just like figuring out how to be like a software engineer full-time and not just like as an intern, and also like figuring out my social life in New York, which is like a lot of going out to dinners, a lot of going out and like getting home at like very late hours. And so like the weekends are less knitting than I'm used to, but I'm trying to rebalance everything. And also like things just got really cold, so not only like is it too cold outside for me to go out, but like I need all the sweaters that I can make. And like I definitely am still knitting a bunch, like I have a whole stack of sweaters and whips to show you, but I've also am trying to like perfect the art of like waiting for code to compile or just like reading through like engineering documents and like knitting at the same time. And I think my coworkers are kind of impressed. My hands are like flying. Like somebody said that like my hands are moving faster than they could even see them, like as I'm like staring at my computer and knitting. Because I've gotten to the point where like I'm comfortable knitting like in like just plain stockinette without actually looking at the work itself as I'm knitting it. So I can do that and stare at like my laptop screen at the same time. And this is like all the training of like me watching like a bunch of movies and stuff while knitting. Like all of that was just preparation for like me knitting at my software engineering job. And like I used to think that like I couldn't watch any movies with like subtitles, so like if it was a movie that like didn't have any English in it, like I couldn't watch it because you can't like knit and read all the subtitles at the same time. But like this past summer I watched Parasite, and obviously it's all subtitles, and like I didn't drop a single stitch, I didn't make any mistakes, but it was kind of hard. Like my eyes were starting to dry out because I was just really staring at the screen while knitting. But I did it. But yeah, like, so on the one hand, New York is super, super cold, and this will be my first, like, winter ever. But on the other, like, that means that I can wear all the sweaters. And let me tell you, it's, like, about 40 degrees, like, every day here. And super chunky knits are holding up well in this weather. Like, I am super cozy on the top, like, just wearing my sweaters. However, I don't have the best, like, pants yet, because I was trying to do the thing that I used to do at Stanford where I would do, like, a sweater and like a skirt on the bottom and like with boots. But then I wore a skirt that I would normally wear during the summer and my legs were freezing. The top half, all good. The legs, absolutely frozen. Like I really love wearing fun pants, but all my fun pants are like a lot lighter weight, and so like they're not great for the fall here. So I've been wearing a lot of like corduroy pants, and like I'm actually wearing some right now, and look how fun it is. Like they match my chair, match everything. Somebody just came over the other day and was like, wow, you really like green. And I was like, I do. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any like tips or tricks of like how to wear fun pants in the winter and fall. But like, I miss it. Like I don't want to just keep on wearing like corduroy pants all the time because there's only so many like fun colored corduroy pants that I can buy. Or maybe I just keep on buying them. I don't know. But yeah, since it's been so long since I've done one of these, I had to go through like all my old videos and like look through like my photos to see when I actually finished projects, to see like what I've already shown you guys and like what things were like in progress and what things are like completely new to you. I've missed doing this. Like having these types of videos of just like talking to you about my knits and my works in progress has been like a really good source of accountability and just like keeping track of like what I've made so far. And there's been a lot of backlog on this now, so bear with me. Let's just get into it because we have a lot to get through. Okay, first things first, this one I was actually not sure if I've shown this one to you yet, so if I have, I'm sorry, I forgot. But here is the Arabella sweater. And it is super fun texture. Like, I basically saw this stitch in a few different knitting books and I like absolutely wanted to try it. And this was a prototype, so I've actually already blocked it because I knit this one originally on 8mm needles, and I definitely should have done it on 10mm needles because the stitch itself is like really dense, because you're basically decreasing and then increasing within 2 rows, and so like everything becomes like super squished and dense. So the texture came out a lot denser than I wanted it to, so I tried to block it the best that I could and make it less like that. But this is made in Lamb's Pride Bulky Weight in the colorway Oatmeal, and I really love this shade. In fact, it's from Brown Sheep Fiber Company or Brown Sheep Company, and I have it in the super bulky weight as well because I really do love this shade. It's just like super neutral. It makes my hair look good, I think, or maybe it's too similar to my hair color. I don't know. I've never really thought about like what colors look good on you or not. I just am drawn to certain colors, and they tend to be like colors that look good on me. Or maybe it's just because I like them. I don't know. Maybe that's why I like them. Anyways, this is a super fun like another like top-down cropped textured sweater, and I really love making these because I make top-down sweaters like when I want to relax, and I've made a bunch of Benny sweaters, you guys know this, and I just feel like I needed to branch out more and just try a bunch of different textures, and if I can make it top-down, I will, because something about like doing the increases every other row just really soothes me, and it's really satisfying to go from like the very top of the sweater all the way to the bottom. But then as soon as I like separate the sleeves and like I'm done doing the body increases, I tend to just lose interest. So there's actually quite a few like top-down sweaters that I've just left as almost like t-shirts. And eventually I'm gonna finish them. Because yes, while some of them, like some of you guys have said that like they look good as just like t-shirts or like tops, it's too cold for me to be making a bunch of like shirts. I need to be making sweaters because it's so cold. And I am going into the office like twice a week, so I have a chance to show off all the sweaters that I make. And I'm gonna be doing that. Also, the lighting right now is like crazy because like the light is reflecting off of a building across the street. It looks like I'm in heaven. But yeah, I find that the bulky weight version of this yarn is a little bit scratchier and a little bit more uncomfortable than the super bulky version. So I actually did end up blocking this, and I added like some conditioner to make it softer. But I would definitely wear like a t-shirt underneath this because my skin I have eczema, and I need to be careful about like things that make me itchy, especially if like I'm gonna wear this to the office and I won't have like anything else to like wear over it because it gets cold in the office. So I need to wear a long sleeve of this sweater. And another issue is that I left a lot of my like fall and winter clothing at home in LA because I thought my mom would visit me and bring it for me, and then she hasn't, and then I thought I was gonna go home for Thanksgiving and I would pick it up then, and I'm actually not. I'm gonna be traveling to Mexico City, and so most of my winter clothing, not here. I need to get more winter clothing because I have like 2 long sleeves and that is just not enough. And speaking of top-down sweaters that I have not added the sleeves to yet, here is an unnamed, like, super mock neck, turtleneck, I don't know what to call it, sweater, and it's in Noro Kureyon, and I don't know what color shade this is in. It's color 430, lot C, if that's any help to you. And I really love this colorway because, like, it's super fall, and it's greens and oranges, which are, like, the 2 colors that I've been super obsessed with recently. And it's just so fun with self-striping yarn to like just see how all the colors are gonna show up. Like every time I use crayon, like I'm just taken on a journey where like I don't know what color is gonna be next. Like it goes from like dark green to orange, and you're like, all right, that seems right. And it just, I'm really excited to wear it. This is a pattern that I'm working on, and again, it's just like a top-down sweater, and it's super soothing to me. And I really want to start another one because obviously I finished the body of this one, so I've lost all interest in it. So I just want to start another one, but I'm going to force myself to finish the sleeves on this one first before I even start another one. However, I can tell you that this is a super cozy sweater because I just finished another one of these. And here's the original like top-down like turtleneck sweater. So this is the other one that I made, and this is why I know that that crayon one is going to be super cozy because I've already made this one. I wore it to the office and it was super great. It's made in 1 strand of Tre Liz Zeus Yarn in the colorway Sun Summoner, and I think that's like fingering weight or sport weight. I keep on forgetting. I'll look it up. And it's also held with 2 strands of mohair, so 1 strand of Knitting for Olive in Hokkaido and 1 strand of Hedgehog Fibres Mohair in Egg Yolk Yellow. So it came out in this really bright, fun, fiery orange. And my policy is like I really like to hold hand-dyed yarn with like a strand or 2 of mohair just because it helps soften all the colorway changes, because I just like the look of it, and I think it's fun to like throw in mohair to give it that fuzz and that halo. I actually have been too lazy, and I haven't seamed in the neckline for this one because I thought that it would be like a cowl neck, like fold over turtleneck, and then I didn't actually really like the look of that. So then I just started wearing it as like a folded in sweater. So I just started wearing it as like a folded in collar sweater, but I was planning to seam it in later, and I just haven't. And I've worn this out a few times, and like nobody knows. I just have to occasionally fix it when like I'm like adjusting like the neckline and stuff. But I really like this sweater. I've been really struggling to figure out names for it. I'm going to be writing the pattern for it soon and including it in like the winter drop part 2. I just did my winter drop, so part 2 is coming because I think winter doesn't end until like March, so we have plenty of time to get through a few drops. And I am planning to pick up the knitting a little bit more now that it's getting a bit colder. And I kind of miss doing super chunky knits. Like, I've been doing a lot of bulky weight knits. Like, almost everything that I have for you today is bulky weight and not super bulky. And I just realized that I actually don't have that much super bulky yarn anymore because I just don't really have the storage for it. But now that I figured out that super bulky knits do well in 40-degree weather, and the forecast is like 40 degrees for the foreseeable future until it like snows, I'm going to be doing a lot more super bulky knits because they go so quickly, they're so comfy, and like you can just like see that you made it yourself because there just aren't that many store-bought super bulky knits that you can get. Anyways, I have been really struggling with the names for this one. Some people have given me really great names, like the pumpkin sweater and like pumpkin spice and stuff, but like I try not to name sweaters based on the colors that I make the original in, just because I do tend to make seconds for everything. I've been kind of bad about it recently, but I mean, you know that I'm making a second already here. But like the pumpkin sweater for this one doesn't make as much sense just because there's only a little bit of orange versus this much orange. And I've been really procrastinating on names for everything. Like for my winter drop, I didn't name some sweaters until literally the night before I released the pattern itself. Yeah, I don't know. Something about it, I haven't been naming sweaters that well recently. And thank you to everybody who suggested names for me. I really do appreciate it because I do design a lot of sweaters and cardigans, and right now it's kind of a dry spell of names. But yeah, one thing that I really love about this sweater is that the cuffs themselves aren't really cuffs. Like, it's a big wide sleeve with like a little bit of ribbing at the end. And it's super comfy. Like, I was just wearing this while coding in the office and I was just like vibing. And it's super comfy. I really like this type of sleeve right now, and I'm probably going to incorporate that in a few more sweaters and cardigans that I'm making. Which reminds me, somebody did DM me a picture of a Williamsburg sweater that they did that had like the wide sleeves without like doing the decreases for the cuffs. And I really liked it. Like, I think that I might be doing that for my next Williamsburg because I really liked the look of it. And speaking of my next Williamsburg, here it is. This is a Williamsburg sweater that I have. This is only one panel of it, and I've actually never made a Williamsburg in Malabrigo Rasta before, but here it is in Malabrigo Rasta in the colorway Aquamarine, I think. And I do like it. I think that it tends to look better. The cable itself shows up a little bit better when the yarn is less variegated in color. Is that how you say it? But I am liking how it turns out, and I think it turns out like really well on camera. I just do tend to like it when it's a more like consistent colorway, just because you can see the cable stitch a little bit better. But I'm going to keep on making this one because I really like the colorway of this one. And this is the one I think that I'm going to, if I remember, to not do any decreases for the cuff and just do like a nice wide sleeve. And hopefully I'll be able to show you guys that super soon because I'm really excited about this. And it's a super bulky knit. And it goes so quickly. Like, I watched like an episode of The Band of Brothers while making this one, so it takes like no time at all. Honestly, like I think that like I just knit through a skein of this yarn and it wasn't even a full episode of Band of Brothers. To be fair, Band of Brothers was like an hour or so, and I don't really know why I'm watching it. I've just been in the mood of watching a lot of like World War II shows or movies. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. And one sweater that I can't show you because I already sold it and I already shipped it to its new owner is a Williamsburg sweater. I'll include a picture here. And it's in Cascade Yarns Magnum in the colorway Turtle, and I loved this sweater. I was definitely super tempted to keep it for myself because I need big chunky sweaters now, but like I think I really just do enjoy making Williamsburg sweaters a lot because it just, like, look at it. It's just so satisfying to see it all come together and then like seam it together, and then like the sleeves take no time at all. And so I expect to see more Williamsburg sweaters for me because it's cold and they make me happy. And in my opinion, it turns out really well. But yeah, the new Williamsburg that I'm making is going to be in a medium because I actually started casting it on and I thought that I was going to be making a new design, but then I decided that I really wanted to see a Williamsburg in that colorway, and I wanted to test it out in Malabrigo Rasta. So I pivoted a little bit, and I ended up making a medium. But the green one that I made and shows you here is in an extra large, but like the sleeves are modified because I don't know if my arms are short or if they're proportional to my height, but I'm not super tall, and so the sleeves aren't very long on the extra large size. So like it has the width of an extra large, but like the sleeve length of like a small. And so it's perfect for if you want that oversized sweater look, but you don't have like super long limbs. And so that's the beauty of knitting your own clothes, is that you can make it an oversized, but then make it fit your arms however you want it to. Because you can stop knitting whenever you want. You can stop knitting as soon as it's long enough for your arms. Okay, this one I am actually super proud of because I was trying to learn how to do the stitch from the knit stitch book I have, and it was so difficult that like I was at the same time trying to text a friend and like talking to them, but like I had to be like, hold on, like I need to concentrate on the stitch for like an hour, so I'll be back in a second. And like knitting a tiny little gauge swatch ended up taking me like an hour because like it's really hard to interpret like lace knitting charts or just like knitted charts in general, because that's just not how my brain works. And like it's like a bunch of like flipping back and forth to like the key and like trying to figure out what they say. And I actually found that this one, like the instructions just didn't make any sense to me, so I had to figure it out on my own. So I wrote a pattern for this one already, and it's out, and hopefully it's in an understandable like charting. Like I kind of rewrote it into language that I understood, so hopefully it'll help people understand it. That's kind of my policy, is that like I write my own charts and I tend to use my own like notation because that makes more sense to me than like the mainstream knitting charts. And I know that's kind of bad if you're a knitter who wants to learn how to read like the average or normal knitting charts, but like I find it super inaccessible to do it that way, and I'm trying to make like patterns for like those that don't necessarily do a bunch of mainstream knitting or just like who want to get into knitting. And so this pattern itself is actually more of an intermediate pattern, so my apologies if you are looking for a pattern that like uses all of the normal notations, but like the normal notations just don't make any sense to me. And so this is actually something that like I find interesting. Like I don't really know what to call my skill level as a knitter. Definitely a comfortable knitter. Like I can do like cable and lace knitting not super easily, but like I can do it. So I think that puts me at intermediate. I definitely wouldn't consider myself an advanced knitter because like I've seen like what other people on like Knitstagram have done, and like the Scandinavian designers do like some crazy things like with like German short rows. Like there's a bunch of things that I still don't really know how to do, and I am trying to find ways to challenge myself as a knitter and like learn new techniques. But at the same time, I do find it kind of difficult to get into those things because like when I'm doing something with like a new technique, I'm often like, well, why wouldn't I just do it a way that like I'm more comfortable with? And then like in my head I start to rework things and like start to rewrite the pattern so that it's more like with the techniques that I know. And so in the end, like I don't know how much I learned from like the new patterns, or it's also like maybe I want to learn something new but like I don't have a pattern for it, or I do find a pattern for it and like I want to knit it, but then like it's also on very small needles and with very thin yarn, and so I don't have the patience to learn it all. Yeah. So I would definitely put myself somewhere as like an intermediate knitter, but like no, that seems right. It just seems like with all the knitting that I've done, I would want to consider myself an advanced knitter, but like I just don't think I am because I haven't done like that many crazy techniques. Anyways, let me show you the sweater that I think is really cool, and it's the Grapejuice sweater because they're like grapevines, and I really like that hairstyle song. Like it's just such a fun intro. And so these are these fun little like cable bobble vines. I don't really know what to call them, but they do look like grapevines, and these are the little grapes. And it has moss stitch and twisted stitches, twisted ribbing. You know, like it's a lot of texture in one sweater, and I really, really, really like the look of it. As I was knitting it, I remember I was watching The Omen, that like old scary movie, and I don't know why I associate this sweater with that, but I do. Like it definitely took me a lot longer than like this single movie, like this single like 2.5 hour movie, but that's the movie that I associate with this sweater. And yeah, like eventually I got really comfortable with the stitch, and now I can pretty much do it without like looking at the chart because I've done it a few times, and I'll show you guys the second sweater that I made with this stitch. But this is in Lamb's Pride Bulky and Orange You Glad, and I really love this orange shade. I think that it's so pretty and it's great for the fall. And I just really liked how this sweater turned out because it's super textured. It's like a fun, like kind of boxy cropped look. And it just feels very 80s to me. I think one thing that I would change when I make a second is that I definitely should have done a twisted ribbing at the bottom because it doesn't really match anywhere else. But like this sweater I knit bottom up and it's also seamed. And so I didn't really realize that I should probably do twisted ribbing until too late. And then I was like, well, let's just do it everywhere else. And so I ended up doing it on the cuffs here. But I didn't do it for the bottom because I did not think about that. But I do have plans to make a second one because I really do like the texture of this one. And I'm thinking that I'm going to actually make it in Malabrigo Mecca in the colorway Teresa. It's this really lovely blue that I have, and I think that it's very similar to the Lamb's Pride Bulky because it's a single ply bulky weight yarn. And I have a feeling that when you knit this type of stitch with a plied yarn, it doesn't come out quite as defined as I would like it to. So I'm planning to try it out with another single ply yarn. However, I don't think that this Lamb's Pride bulky weight yarn pills that much. Like, it doesn't really have that much pilling, despite the fact that I've like tossed this sweater around for a while. And like, it was definitely a lot of like throwing it around as I was doing the knit stitch because I was getting frustrated, even with my own charting, just because I was still getting used to the stitch. And I also experimented a bunch with like different ways to make baubles. So before I did like knit stitch baubles, like only did knitting. And then by the end, at the top, I was experimenting with like using a crochet hook to make the baubles. And I don't know if you guys can see the difference. You probably can. And I also don't remember if I did it on the front and the back. I really do need labels to tell me which side's the front and which side's the back. Have I made any progress on that? No. Okay, so here is the other super bulky knit that I have for you guys this week, and it's an unnamed sweater, and I'm planning to put it in my winter drop part 2. And it's kind of like the Grapejuice sweater, but it's a super bulky version. And it's made with Brown Sheep Company Burly Spun and the colorway Oatmeal. This is the one that I was telling you guys about earlier. And it's a lot of like reversed stockinette and like twisted stitches. This time I did remember to do twisted ribbing at the bottom. And I actually had to undo a few rows because like my brain automatically just goes to regular 1x1 ribbing. And so then I was like, ah, shoot, like I need to do twisted ribbing here. But yeah, like I had never done baubles on a super bulky weight yarn, and I really liked how they turned out. I ended up wearing this sweater to work, and obviously I did not check the weather that day, and it was bitter cold rain as well, so it got a little bit wet. So it was a little impromptu blocking on my end. It didn't get super wet, but it was freezing. I was complaining to somebody about how like the rain in New York is always humid and warm. And that's not true. It was like 40 degrees and raining and it felt like ice. I am a little bit scared for this winter. And I need to find like a good raincoat, because I still don't have a raincoat, amazingly, so that my knits don't get wet. Anyways, this sweater, I don't know what to call it, probably something to do with grapes or some sort of variation on grape juice, no idea, or vines. But I'm excited for this one because I think it's super cozy, and I don't know if I've done that much like reverse stockinette. I know my Atherton cardigan and sweater have reverse stockinette, but like not that many other sweaters do. I think it's underutilized by me. I'm probably gonna fix that soon. But yeah, it's just like super boxy and fun, and also reminds me of the 80s. But I can attest that you can wear this all day and be cozy in the office in New York in November. Oh my god, this is gonna be such a long video because I still have so many more to go. I'm gonna try to go faster. So here is my Atherton cardigan, and the pattern for this one is a little bit delayed, but it'll be coming out soon. And this is in Wool & the Gang Alpachino Merino in Sahara Dust, and here's like my one other reverse stockinette sweater, cardigan, whatever you want to call it. And it also has like undecreased cuffs, and I really like that look. This is a super cozy knit, and I actually wore this one with just like a shirt underneath with the 40-degree weather, and I was just fine. I think that's a little bit wild. I am often seeing people in like puffer jackets, and I do have a puffer jacket. Or maybe I'm just crazy and that I think that like a single cardigan is enough for this cold. But maybe that bodes well for the weather. I don't know. Another thing about this one is that it's a really cute like crew neck as well, but then one of the buttons fell off because I did not seam the buttons on very well. And I have the button, but I've just been too lazy to fix it. Because I also can't find like the single needle that I have that can fit through like buttonholes. But I don't know what to do. I guess I have to go buy another one or just like staple on buttons. I don't really know. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It's super cozy and it's a super chill like cable sweater. Like, I think that this pattern is great for like if you're just starting out in cables and you want something a little bit more low-key but subtle. And it's a really cute fit. Not to do my own horn, but I really like the way that this one fits. The lighting has drastically changed. Like, yeah, it gets cloudy, the angles change, the light stops reflecting off of buildings, but I'm glad my room still is bright enough to film. That's what's kind of scary. Like, the daylight saving change, like, I now go home from like work at like 5 and it's dark and it's a little bit scary. But just something to get used to, and eventually it'll start being bright again, and then it'll get kind of swampy, and then I'll miss the cold. Probably won't miss the cold. At least with the cold you can wear sweaters. Anyways, here is another top-down textured sweater that I'm working on, and this is with Plymouth Yarns Worsted yarn and a single strand of knitting for olive mohair, just because why not? And I think it's so pretty, and I really like it, but the stitch kind of like, it's a little bit tricky, and then I have to concentrate, and I really like it. But it's another one where it's like, I finished the body. Let's move on to other things. So I actually finished this one like a month ago. I was definitely knitting it during my onboarding, so maybe even more than a month ago. And now it's just been sitting without sleeves for like a month. And it's really pretty. I really like how it looks on camera. Like, it looks fun and textured. And I just can't find the motivation to finish the sleeves. But I really do want to. Like, I'm gonna try to include it in my winter drop part 2. But that means that I have to like finish this one and like chart out extra small to 5X, which I've gotten pretty good at like writing all these charts for these like lace top down sweaters, but that means I still have to do it. And just because I've gotten pretty good at it doesn't mean that it takes no time at all. Like, it definitely takes a lot of effort, and I've been really procrastinating on writing a bunch of patterns. Like, recently I've just been freehanding a bunch of things and like taking notes, but I haven't been writing the patterns for them for like months at a time, and that makes it a little bit tricky. I swear I'll do it. There's a few patterns, there's at least 4 patterns that I want to include in the winter drop part 2. And how many patterns have I written for them? 0. So this one I have for you is one of my nail art sweaters, and amazingly the sweater pattern's already out, and I actually modified it so that the pattern itself only has like a single heart in the middle, and I'll show you guys that version in a second. And so this is the Eat Your Heart Out sweater, and I really like it. It's made in Lang Yarn's Honor Yarn in red. It has some color code, and the hearts themselves are Wool & Gang Alpachino Merino and Ivory White. And I really like the mixture of like a fuzzy yarn and a like plied yarn, because I think it gives like a really fun contrast to each other. And it has like a folded collar and stuff. Yeah. This one I was knitting on a deadline, and I think I have an entire video like documenting my process of it. And I was a little bit stressed because I was like, oh, I don't have enough yarn, so I had to make a midday, midweek yarn run to Nitty City. And that's a little bit trickier for me now that I have like a full-time job, but like fortunately I work from home some days, so I was able to sneak out and like grab it. But it's a little bit strange adjusting to that idea of like I'm working a 9-to-5 job now, and like I'm no longer just like a college student where like I can go at like off times and like avoid crowds of people. Like, now I'm with all the commuters and I'm with the rush hour people. Like, it's a bit strange. And sometimes you have to get into the subway and it's like absolutely packed, and I don't like it. Not that anybody likes it, but like it's just really startling, because I spent an entire month in New York just like exploring the city on my own time, and I always avoided the rush hour times, and now I can't. So here's the other Eat Your Heart Out sweater, and this is in Wool & Gang Alpachino Merino in Bubblegum Pink and Ivory White here. And the heart itself is made in Loopy Mango Mohair So Soft in bubblegum pink as well? Pink bubblegum? Something to do with bubblegum. And I actually would not recommend doing a fluffy yarn as the heart because it gives it less definition than I would like it to. I think that I would recommend doing like the reverse if anything, although that's more expensive because Mohair So Soft is so expensive even though it's so nice. And so I ended up having to outline it with some yarn, some white yarn here, and that's when I was like, oh, like let's just do the collar in white as well. And I tried to do the crochet embroidery technique where you kind of give it like a border of crochet just to like outline it. And I showed my mom and I was like, Mom, does it look like a heart? And she said, I can tell it wants to be a heart. And so this sweater is definitely a little bit more like one of those sweaters that you can tell it's handmade with love. But I do like it, and it's super cozy, and I'm definitely going to wear it to the office. But I think I also messed up in that, like, the heart is slightly off-center because I miscalculated how many stitches there were. And so this is one of those sweaters that, like, it's only for me or, like, a relative, or I'm just eventually going to unravel it. But I like it. It's cozy. It's fun. It's a bright color. It's a little bit kitschy. Is that the right word for it? It looks handmade, and it looks like I made it. And it's a bright color, and I feel like something about New York has made it so that like I'm wearing a lot more black clothing than I like to because it's just easy to do like an all black outfit. And I don't really like that because I like to wear bright colors, and so this neon pink sweater that I have here is going to be like my comeback to wearing bright colors, even though I'm living in New York now. Yeah. It's a little bit kitschy. This one I put into a knitting bag and I haven't touched it in a while. And so this is a really fun textured sweater that I was working on. It has like a bunch of slip stitches, and I actually ended up finishing the back, I think. No? Maybe I didn't. I can't tell. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. No, I don't think I did. Anyways, it's this really fun like slip stitch here. And it definitely takes some concentration, and I really like it because I think that this will be like a super cozy sweater because it's basically like double knit because of all like the slip stitches. And I don't know why I'm not finishing it or I'm not working on it. I think I just got kind of tired of the stitch itself because it takes a lot of counting and like slipping stitches. And when you make a mistake with this stitch, it's super annoying to unravel or undo the stitches that you've already done because, yeah, it just is, and I've already made a few mistakes. Or I made a few mistakes and I had to undo them, and then I think that just kind of made me tired of this sweater. But it's a Wool in the Gang Alpachino Merino and Eucalyptus Green, and I really do like it. I just have to find the motivation to finish it. Because I think this is the first time that I've looked at it in a few weeks because I just took it out of this bag. And I have a bunch of the Eucalyptus Green, and I really like this color. And I think it'd be kind of fun if you did like a similar like white collar, kind of like how I did the Eat Your Heart Out sweater. And we kind of give it that like fun 80s textured sweater look. So I want to finish it. I just have to find the motivation. And another thing with these types of things was like if I want to do like a contrast collar, I always think about it or decide to do that after I've already done the bottom ribbing. So the bottom ribbing is not going to match the ribbing of everywhere else. And so that kind of like, that drives me a little bit crazy because like the bottom part is not in that contrast color, but everything else is because that was a later decision. And it's like, you can't change that later on because it's already all the way at the bottom. And in order to change that, you'd have to unravel the entire sweater. But I think I might just like keep pushing and I'll eventually finish the body for this and then do the neckline in like white and like do the arm ribbing in also white. But this is a really fun texture. But I think I just got tired of the stitch. We're almost done. We only have one more whip after this. So this is going to be part of my Winter Drop Part 2. And it's a fun little like colored top-down cardigan. And I think it's so cute. I basically made this to be like a staple cardigan that I could wear into the office with like a bunch of different outfits. And so it's in Sandnes Garn Kos yarn in the colorway... I'll put it in the description because I cannot remember, but it's held double, and it's this a really fun like spring green, yellowish green, I don't know. and it's super cozy, and I'm really excited. The thing is that I did make it so that it would have buttons, and it has little buttonholes. But because I lost that needle that fits through the buttonholes, and it's the only needle that I own, or I used to own, that can fit through the buttonholes, I haven't finished this sweater because I have buttons for it. I just have no way of attaching them. But I also have to block this cardigan so that the collar folds down a little bit better, because right now it tends to like fly up. But I'm really excited for this cardigan, and I think I'm going to be making another one in, I don't know what color yet, because I think this is a really great staple, like super chill basic cardigan that you can make that's like a fun little collar pop. And I'm trying to make myself knit cardigans more because they're much more versatile. Like, you can like show off the top that you're wearing underneath, and it just, if it gets too hot, you can kind of do that like half on, half off thing, so that like you're still wearing the sweater, so your arms are warm, but like your shoulders aren't overheated. And I just need to make more cardigans because of this pile of whips and knits that I have. I've made like 2 cardigans total. Everything else is sweaters. And my default is just to make sweaters, and I'm trying to change that about myself, but it's been a little bit tricky because I forget that I'm telling myself to change that, and then I just make another sweater. Anyways, this is one of the 4 patterns that I have in mind for my winter drop part 2, so keep your eye out for this one, and please help me name it because I cannot think of a name. The final project that I have for you is I'm making an Oli Sweater Lite version. So I guess this is maybe the 5th pattern of my winter drop. I don't really know. And it's made in this really lovely Noro Viola yarn, I think. I have a skein here. Yeah, it's Viola in the color 12, lot B, if you're curious. And it's just super fun. And it's kind of refreshing that you can get a skein of this and it has literally 400 meters of yarn in it. So you're like weaving in so few ends at the end. I mean, obviously I haven't finished the sweater yet, but it's so satisfying because like I have a significant amount of yarn left, and I've already finished the back of this sweater. And I actually made it like a little bit longer than I normally would. Like it's still a crop sweater, but it hits at the hip rather than at like the waist. And I'm actually almost done with the front too. So I almost finished the entire body of this sweater with just like a single skein of this yarn. And so like obviously I'll have to go into this one to do the sleeves. Yeah, and like look how lovely this colorway is. I actually haven't worked on this one in a few weeks, like maybe 2 weeks, and I had to like dig it out of a pile that like fell onto the side of my bed. And now I really want to finish it, like showing you guys. See, this is why like I need these videos, just to like remind myself of the things that I'm working on and be like, huh, why aren't I working on that? Okay, that was it. That was a lot. I'm so excited to edit this video. It'll take me forever. But hopefully I'll be doing these check-ins of knit and whip videos more often so that I don't have like a giant pile to go through all at once and then like I procrastinate on doing it and then the pile gets bigger. But I am really enjoying knitting in New York because as soon as I finish a sweater I can wear it into the office, or I can just wear it out like immediately. When I was in California, like the weather was too changeable for me to actually wear them that much, and so I've gotten into the habit now of just like actually wearing my sweaters and cardigans, and I'm really excited about that. However, I do have a lot less storage to store all of these sweaters, so I'm going to probably be doing a sale on my Depop soon, because this is too many sweaters for one person to own, especially if you consider the fact that I'm going to be making a bunch more because it's cold and I have a lot of ideas. And I have a lot of yarn because I did a bunch of yarn shopping like last month, and now I have far too much yarn. I've actually been really good, and I haven't really been buying that much yarn recently because I know that I have far too much to knit with now. However, Wool and the Gang did just come out with a bunch of different colors and lines, and I really, really, really want to try them all. And I'm trying to resist, but I think that I might be making a bunch of like Christmas presents in those yarns, and that's how I'll justify buying those yarns. Yeah, Christmas is coming up. And last year I finished a lot of my Christmas presents in like the summer because I just didn't know what else to do. And I didn't do that this summer, so now we're in crunch time and I need to make a bunch of Christmas presents. Maybe that's what I'll do with all the super bulky yarn that I'm about to order. I'm gonna make a bunch of like designs and presents. Maybe I will order a bunch of the new Wool and the Gang yarn and colorways, and that'll allow me to try out new colors because I'm very excited about them, and it'll also help me get some ideas out that I have for like super bulky yarn, and it'll be presents for people that I need to make anyways. So you just watch me convince myself to order a bunch of yarn and justify it, and I'll probably get that yarn. But yes, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully that wasn't too much knitting and whips and knits. I don't feel that tired about talking about it, even though it's been like a while of me talking about it, but maybe that's because like I haven't done this in a while, and I've kind of figured out a more like reasonable cadence of like creating these videos and showing you guys like what I've been working on. But I think that I do need to do these like check-ins of like knits and whips more often, because this pile was too big and it kind of stressed me out to think about like talking about all of them, because the pile was getting bigger and bigger and I just like wasn't clearing it out and showing you guys what I was working on. But now we're starting from scratch again, and hopefully me telling you that I will be better about it will make me better about it. It's a little bit of accountability. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day and happy knitting. See ya.